I tested out the Poco F7 Pro and Ultra when they launched earlier on this year. Now they just dropped a base F7 model. I have some mixed feelings about it. The box still packs in everything. It has a new chipset, a larger display, an upgraded cooling system, and the largest battery in a Poco F series device ever. I don't know the exact price at the time of making this video, but last year's F6 started at $379 and had less RAM. So it should cost around $400, especially when you consider the Pro starts at $500. There's a lot that's improved here, and my first impressions of using it is that if this is a sub $400 phone, I don't think there's a more premium feeling phone out there at this price. It comes in 3 different colors. There's black, white, and a special cyber silver edition. I have the limited edition, and it's nice, but I have some thoughts. The design is completely different to the F6 and the rest of the F7 series phones, but they have stuck to the same half-half back design of the Pro and Ultra, if that makes sense. The top half has a different design to the bottom, just like the rest of the lineup, but this time it's angled and all gloss. I don't mind the top half being glossy, but I really wish the silver section at the bottom was matte, just like we saw with the Pro and Ultra. That silver part is like a mirror, and it is impossible to prevent fingerprint smudges. If you're going to use this phone without a case, be prepared to carry around a microfiber cloth. The back section at the top is quite unique though. There's a limited edition stamp and a Snapdragon logo. It might seem transparent, but I'm pretty sure there's just stickers under the glass backplate. It's subjectively the best looking Poco phone out there. I mean, I really like it. But what's more important is that it actually feels more premium than the Pro and Ultra. The back, front, and sides are completely flat, and the frames are made from aluminum. Last year's F6 had plastic frames. There's an upgrade in waterproofing too, which now sits at an IP68 certification. That's the same as the Pro and Ultra, and up from the IP64 we saw with the F6. The front is protected by Gorilla Glass 7i, same as the Pro, but last year's F6 has Gorilla Glass Victus, so this is actually a bit of a downgrade. It has an optical fingerprint sensor, just like with the F6. The F7 Pro and Ultra have ultrasonic sensors though. And while there is an always-on display, it can only be shown for 10 seconds like we saw with the F6. This makes 0 sense to me considering it has an AMOLED panel. The corners are more rounded though, which I prefer, and it seems to have thinner bezels than the Pro and Ultra, which gives it a more flagship look. It's slightly thicker than the Pro, and it's actually heavier than both the Pro and the Ultra, but there's good reason for that. It has a much larger display. The entire F6 series and F7 series have 6.67-inch screens, but this, the standard F7, has a huge 6.83-inch AMOLED panel, and I really like it. It has a lower screen resolution compared to the Pro and Ultra, but it still has a solid 447 ppi. Compared to the Pro and Ultra, it has the same 12-bit panel, 120Hz refresh rate, 480Hz touch sampling rate, 2560Hz instant touch sampling rate, 3840Hz PWM dimming, and 3200 nits of peak brightness. These are all improvements over last year's F6. And while the F7 does have the same brightness as the Pro and Ultra, its peak level brightness actually covers more screen area, and it does this when viewing HDR or SDR content. It's not just limited to HDR like we see with others. But what is the same as the Pro and Ultra, and which is still a deal breaker for many people, is that the F7 also lacks eSIM support. The good news is that it gets the same Bluetooth 6.0 support that we saw with the Ultra, along with Wi-Fi 7, dual SIM 5G, and NFC. It also has the same HyperOS software skin layered over Android 15, so it has the same visual and animation improvements, and all the same AI features if you care for them. The phone is global, so there's still Google Discover, Circle to Search, and of course Gemini and Gemini Live.
Hi, I'm Gemini. We're about to go live, where you can explore complex topics or ideas just by talking.
The dual speakers actually sound better. But one of the largest improvements here is its battery capacity. It now sits at a massive 6,500 milliamp hours. But, and I have to say this, the Indian version of the same phone has a 7,550 milliamp hour cell, which is literally getting to tablet battery level capacity there. Yeah, I know the Global's battery capacity is significantly smaller than the Indian's version, but you have to remember that this is still Poco's largest battery in any of their devices in the global market, and it's significantly larger than the Pro and Ultra. It does have the same charging speed as the Indian version though. They both have 90 watt wide charging and 22.5 watt reverse wide charging. But keep in mind that only the Ultra has wireless charging. Powering the phone is the new Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 chipset. Think of it as an 8 Gen 3 with slightly lower clock speeds, but with no efficiency cores and more performance cores. The Pro has an 8 Gen 3 and the Ultra has an 8 Elite. The 8S Gen 4 in the standard F7 gets identical benchmark scores when compared to the 8 Gen 3 seen in the Pro. The F7 does have a larger ice loop cooling system though, and it apparently features the largest loop heat pipe in any Poco phone. This is probably possible due to the phone's larger form factor. It also carries the same LPDDR5X RAM and UFS 4.1 storage as the Pro and Ultra, but its GPU doesn't seem to be as strong as the Pro or Ultra when benchmark testing. But that's not really the case when gaming. We still get the option to use frame interpolation in Genshin Impact for 120 FPS gaming, but more importantly, when playing the game at its intended frame rate of 60 FPS with everything set to the max, the standard F7 averaged 60.1 FPS, which is not only better than the 8 Gen 3, but it averaged higher than the 8 Elite seen in the F7 Ultra. Wuthering Waves is an even more demanding game to play, and again, when setting everything to the max, the standard F7 averaged 55.3 FPS. That's not quite as high as what we saw with the 8 Elite powered F7 Ultra, or as stable, but it's a decent improvement over the F7 Pro running the 8 Gen 3. So while the 8S Gen 4 isn't exactly a flagship chipset, it certainly behaves like one. I wouldn't exactly go out there and spend more money on the F7 Ultra just for better performance. The 8S Gen 4 is more than powerful enough. The main reason I would go for the Pro or Ultra instead is for cameras though. The Pro and Ultra both share the same 50 megapixel Light Fusion 800 main camera, which has a much larger sensor size than the IMX882 seen in the standard F7, which is the same main cam we saw in the regular F6. The standard F7 also has the same 20 megapixel selfie and 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera that we see in the F7 Pro. So there's no macro sensor or macro mode here. The ultra-wide takes okay shots, but photos from the main camera come out better. It's not the best main sensor around, but at least Poco included OIS here. Only the Ultra has a telephoto camera, but digital zoom shots don't come out terrible using the standard F7's main camera. The Pro also lacks a telephoto, but it can reach 20 times digital zoom, whereas this caps out at 10 times. The F7's main camera actually has a wider f1.5 aperture, so background blur comes out fantastic, but when in portrait mode, color accuracy and detail are a bit of a hit and miss. Selfie snaps actually come out looking great, and I was kind of surprised how well selfies came out at night. But the ultra-wide is still disappointing when there isn't enough light around, and the main camera only looks decent at its native focal length. It's not terrible at higher focal lengths at night, it's just not something I'd brag about. Ultra-wide video is also a bit of a letdown, especially since it's capped at 1080p resolution and 30 FPS, just like we saw with the Pro. But at least the main camera can shoot 4K 60 FPS video, just like with the rest of the F7 lineup. And OIS definitely keeps things nice and stable. There's an option for bokeh video when using the main camera, but I'm not sure I'd really recommend using it. It's just so odd that the selfie bokeh video comes out looking better. Just like with the Pro and Ultra, the standard Poco F7 also limits selfie video to 1080p resolution, but at least it does so at a smooth 60 FPS. It would have been nice to have seen 4K selfie video here, but it is what it is. Nevertheless, let me know your thoughts on the video and microphone performance of the brand new Poco F7. Recording with the selfie camera at night is again something I wouldn't recommend doing with the F7, and while ultra-wide video at night isn't as grainy as I expected it to be, it's still way too underexposed. Recording with the main camera at night is a lot more exposed, but everything is grainy and there's a ton of light noise. And while there is a 4K night video mode option, it's so choppy that I can't see myself using it. Now this makes things confusing. If I want a larger display and battery, then it's the F7. If I want a better main camera, then it's the F7 Pro. If I want a telephoto camera and wireless charging, then it's the F7 Ultra. But I can't have it all? I'll end off by saying this. Mid-range smartphones have come a really long way. I just hope that future flagships get some of the same treatment. This is TechNick, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.